I have a love-hate relationship with summer. I love the long days. I love the warm evenings. I love hanging out in the garden that we've created, and I just love all that about it. What I don't love about summer is that my garden looks kind of tired in the heat of the summer in August. August is probably my least favorite time in the garden. But as we turn the corner and we're heading into fall, it's early September, and I'm in my garden, and what I'm starting to see are the opportunities of the season. I'm looking forward to the changes I'm going to make, and that's always really inspiring for me. So today I'm going to walk you through the garden. We're going to look at some things that, look at some details that I do find pleasing about my garden, because there are, of course, many things that I do love. But then we're going to look at some of the changes that I'm contemplating making as we move into the fall planting season. This spot in the back garden, I spend a lot of time sitting right there, and it's one of my favorite parts of the garden in summer, because I just never tire of this view down the path and how it changes through the seasons. The back garden has a very enclosed and private feeling, and that is thanks to the overhead canopy that we've got here that kind of encloses and provides some privacy. And it's a combination of plants that are actually doing that. And I'm just kind of panning around. I'm not going to identify all of them, but that's one of the things that gives us so much enclosure, so much privacy in this back area. I'd like to tell you that I spend a lot of time hanging out in this area and these chairs, but fact of the matter is I don't as much here. I love the coloring, I love the look of those, but they're not my most comfortable chairs. But I do sit out there a little bit. But that's something I'm kind of contemplating. It's like, okay, if I'm not using those chairs, perhaps I should be furnishing this in a different way. But I love the color, so I'm torn. What should I do? And towards the back, another thing that I'm kind of cogitating on is, I've got a conifer back there that I really like. Let's see if I can zoom in there and give you a look at its foliage. You can kind of see it's the finely textured bluish gray foliage back there. And I really like it. And it put on a ton of growth this year. And I think that what has happened is I need to get in there and do a little bit of pruning on it, just to make sure that it's balanced and I control its size as much as I possibly can. I think it should be able to fit back there for a long time, but it's grown quite a bit, so I need to keep my eye on it. And the other thing that I'm going to do in this section is, that's a Cotinus grace kind of in the foreground. There's its foliage, some of the lower foliage. But as you may or may not know, Cotinus or smoke bushes can be really, very big, very leggy, and very vigorous. And this one is definitely that. However, there are different choices that you can make in terms of how you might grow it. And what I mean by that is that if the fluffy, flowery, smoky blooms are not of central importance to you, you can cut the plant back pretty hard and establish kind of a low permanent framework that then emphasizes the foliage. I didn't do that this year. Overall, I did some, but I left, I don't know, mainly by not neglect, but mainly because I just didn't get to it or didn't think about it. I didn't cut this back. So I think next year what I'm going to do, so that it kind of occupies more of that central area, I think I'm going to cut it back a bit harder which is going to allow me to see that conifer back there, which is the reason I chose this Catinus. And that conifer is for the color story that they create together. Also, it'll give a little bit more room for that quickfire hydrangea to come in there and be part of the scene. So that's one of the things. It's not really a removal of anything. It's just kind of taking a firmer hand in terms of maintenance in this area. I am very fond of Schefflera delavei, and I admire some really beautifully grown ones in some of my friends' gardens. And I've been trying to get mine established, and I have had trouble doing that. So these are its dead branches from its first tries. That's a vine. I'm kind of taking advantage of the fact that I've got a dead stem there, and I'm using it as a vine support. So that's all well and good. But the plant is telling me, I think, that it wants to be over here. So I got a lot of new growth that's coming in on this side. And so I'm hopeful that it is just kind of making a course correction, and that I'll be able to get this guy to, be an asset, to come to its full potential. So fingers crossed on that. This rhododendron, Caitlin's Delight, is starting to set buds for next year. And so that looks pretty promising. I think we're going to have a lot of blooms on that. And behind that area, I've got my eye on either one, just rolling with this and appreciating its carefree, easy care attitude, if you will. Or I'm going to look at it as an opportunity to kind of make some easy revisions. That hydrangea back there, I appreciate very much. It is Miss Sayori, and it's happy, and it's an interesting hydrangea in that it's got a nice progression of interest from dark foliage in the early season to the flowers that change throughout the season as well. But if I am antsy for making a change, that's an opportunity, because I've been wanting to grow that hydrangea Eclipse. Not sure if that's the right one for back here, because it's so dark, and this is kind of a shady spot, and that might just become a bit of a black hole. So just contemplating it. Along the back fence line and underneath this Pittosporum that I've trained into a tree-like form, that's Pittosporum tall and tough, is one of my most challenging spots. This is very dry shade, and if you kind of look back there, part of what's driving the shade is, you can see the trunk. It's my neighbor's big old Doug fir, so that's very much impacting the growing conditions that I have down here. So I have struggles here. I have some things that I recently added this year that I hope to be a better match for the space here. One of the things I added was, I don't know why I hadn't before, but this is a really nice Virginia that I picked up at the plant sales this summer, known for its really large foliage. And I thought that was pretty dramatic for that spot, and should do just fine. I've got the aster, one of our native asters that is well adapted to dry shade. The Fothergilla is not giving me vibes that says it wants to be here, so that's kind of on the block, if you will, is something that I'll potentially change. And that Aucuba back there, it's a perfectly good choice for this type of situation, and it's doing well. The other thing that I wanted to point out is, and I think it's going to be a little bit more visible here on this other side. Oh, I'm going to pause here. This is a new addition this year. Should do pretty well here. It's a Rohdea. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but I just put that in, and it should be a good match for back here. But what I wanted to show you was, this is an iris that is adapted for shade, that is very, very tough, very drought tolerant, and is such and it's going to do really great here. So I've got divisions that I put here, and I've got some divisions in other parts of the garden, and I everywhere that I've put it, it's doing really, really well. So those are a little sparse, but they're definitely going to fill that area. They're going to be light and bright and texturally interesting next to its companions, and is going to just take that shade fully in stride and be present throughout the year. So I'm very excited about that. Behind it is Aspidistra. So the two of them together are both evergreen, both very much and very, very well suited to this dry shade environment. And so I'm getting there in terms of covering the ground with some plants that are giving me all the signals that they want to be here. So I've got the iris, the nandina is perfectly happy, the aspidistra back there, and this little ground cover there is Cardamine trifolia, I believe. And all of those are very promising. If you've followed my channel, you are familiar with the idea that I do try to primarily select plants based on their foliage contribution and their contributions beyond their flowering. That said, of course I love flowers. Late summer, fuchsias rule. And I was looking around my garden the other day and thinking, oh, where is my late summer flower color coming from? And it's mostly hardy fuchsias. So I've got two that I just showed you there. And then there's another one here back along the path that we've looked at before. One of the previous videos, I remember featuring it. And what's notable about that is that video was, I don't know when it was a long time ago. And this guy's still blooming. So blooms early, blooms a long time. And honestly, you just can't beat hardy fuchsias for late season bloom. Someday I'm going to make a video and I'm going to focus exclusively on some of these ground covering plants, some of these plants that I use to create all this interest at the very edges of my garden. And it's something that I just have taken a great amount of joy in doing. And there's just, I love creating that tapestry of ground covering plants. And it's a balance of, you know, I have lots to say about ground covers. I mean, ground covers are fantastic, but they do come with a lot of cautions and caveats in terms of, be careful of what you put in because you don't want to regret it later. So we're panning through some of my favorites. And at some point, we'll do a much more extensive look at some of those plants. This Ariocema is actually kind of hard to capture, but I'm going to give it a whirl because it is so cool. And I think what I love about it is its story a little bit. It is an Ariocema that has been in my garden for many, many years. And for much of its life, it was kind of just small and puny, probably about the size of one of the pups that it's putting off. And it hung out here and it was competing with a different blue conifer, not the one that you're seeing, but the conifer kind of took that whole space. And then I took that conifer out. And then the next year, this guy erupted out of the ground. Let me put my hand in there so you can just see the stalk. It's really, that's kind of hard, but probably. Anyways, it's really dramatic, and it goes and it goes and it goes, and it's so tall and it's so vigorous. And it was just such a delight when it just kind of found its way back into the garden after being buried for many years. In the far back corner, and just kind of giving you a little bit of a pan view, look around, and just a lot of foliage interest here, a lot of evergreen structure that is either established, that's a loquat, Although I think noteworthy about that is I did a fair amount and had some help from somebody because you can see it's kind of hard to reach, but I did a fair amount of thinning of that Loquat, and so it looks really great this year. And I did that a little bit for aesthetic, but also because I had some structural problems that if we had gotten some snow or ice this year, I'm pretty confident would have split in the middle. Anyways, you can't see that on the video, but super happy with it. And I just love kind of the bold foliage. And this here, we looked at this pine at one of our last videos when we toured Renee's garden. She has an umbrella pine, same one as this. This is Joe Kozey. He's a youngster, he's getting established, but you can just see from a texture standpoint, that's of course evergreen. It's kind of glossy, but really wonderful texture. And then it's going to get up there. It's going to be narrow. It's going to provide part of the boundary screen between me and my neighbor to the north. And it's going to look fantastic next to this Loquat. So it'll fill that space. This Ilex crenata Mariesii, I don't know, boy, it seems like it's really undergone quite a growth spurt over the last couple of years. Easily probably 8 feet tall, and nice fine texture, and it's going to be a good host for part of this vine. That's a clematis, and it's just kind of trails through. It's actually a clematis that kind of traipses and trails through this whole area here and lands on this. So that's kind of a fun development now that the Ilex is big enough to not be overwhelmed by a vine. It's nice to think of it as being a potential support for one. Just a quick look at this Abutilon that I have in a sunny spot here in my back garden. And we mentioned hardy fuchsias as being one of the real stalwarts of real contributors to late season flower color. And Abutilons, if they are hardy in your area, or even semi-hardy, are definitely worth growing, and definitely worth taking the risk of will they return or will they not return after a winter, because they just give. So hardy recommendation for Abutilons. We'll take a look along the south side. This is the narrow spot on the south side of my house, and this area used to be a driveway, so it's really quite narrow. It's like no more than 10 feet, and honestly I think it's like 9. And once upon a time it was a driveway leading all the way to the back where my studio is, which used to be a garage, but it's not anymore. But what do we got here? I want to show you, I'm zooming in on another hardy Abutilon. I've had that one in my garden for many years, so I've had really good luck with it. Again, they're not hardy everywhere, but definitely worth giving it a whirl if you can. I don't grow much in terms of veg anymore, but I do love to have my fresh basil. But mostly I'm kind of using this spot here, which is one of my sunniest spots, to have some flowers, kind of more sun-loving plants for creating color and interest through the summer. We've looked at this part of the garden a number of different times, so I'm going to kind of move through relatively quickly and remind you that there's a couple of videos that look specifically at the side yard garden in a little bit more detail. So we're going to head out here. We're going to go out front through the gates and take a look at the front garden. This continues to be a favorite spot for, you know, hanging out. It's one of our favorite seating areas. In high summer, in the afternoons, it's a little hot, but still nice enough in the evenings, so that's good. We've got the crepe myrtle zuni. This is its moment for bloom, and so that's really pretty. I mean, what I love about it is its bark. I love the color of the bark. Creamy and smooth, but it's very pretty in flower as well. And the color echo between the hibiscus, this is purple pillar, catching the crepe myrtle in the background is really wonderful. I've talked about my struggles in this area, and I did try something different this year, where my struggles are that rose it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. It's very vigorous. It does bloom beautifully early part of the year, but it's just huge, so huge that the rest of the plants underneath it struggle to do well. So I think after giving it another shot, I think I've pretty much decided, you know, maybe not 100% certain, but I think I've pretty much decided that I'm going to take it out. And the only thing I would say is if, as I'm pruning it, I decide not to take it out, but to maybe leave part of it, I'm going to take all of it out on this side. And then next year, as I train it, not let it go into this left-hand side at all, and just only allow it to go to this side and support it on that trellis. That would be a fair amount of work, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. So the other thing I'm contemplating is just take it out entirely, and that will allow me to really take another swing at this area. I've got a couple of things that are doing okay and would do better without the rose. I think that this blueberry, it would be really nice if it really established and was really productive there, because I love a good blueberry. And that would be really great. So we'll see, but I'm definitely struggling in this area still, and all those bare patches are a combination of competition from that rose and the fact that it is just blasting hot here in the afternoon. And so I've got maybe the wrong plants in there, so I'm going to keep working on that. I'm of two minds on this rhododendron. It is very, very beautiful when in bloom. This year it didn't bloom very much at all, but I am seeing, decent bud set. So theoretically, it would bloom pretty well next year. So that's in the plus column, but in the strong negative column is the fact that it is continuing to show signs of lace bug. And I have done a little bit more this year in terms of trying to keep that at bay. I haven't used any, chemicals or anything like that, but I have been pretty good about, spraying the undersides of the leaves, but clearly not good enough. And so, I don't know. I might just take the opportunity to say, hey, I tried, and do something else with this space there. But I reserve the right to change my mind on that. It really kind of depends on whether I figure out something that I'd really much rather grow in that spot. I've been really appreciating the performance of these summer blooming alliums. This is very similar to Allium Millennium, but it's a dwarf version of it. But I'm also growing Millennium, and I have to tell you, they have been such workhorses. They bloom, 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 bloom. They're always covered with bees and other pollinators and insects. and super drought tolerant, super tough. And I have a number of them, but when I have a tough spot, I think I'm going to be looking to this one a little bit more as a potential solution. Gaura and Sedum and this Artemesia sea foam and this Agave are taking the heat in stride. Absolutely no complaints from these guys. I've added a couple of different Phlomis to the garden in the last year, and this one with its white foliage is really wonderful, and it's doing great. I've got another one nearby that has kind of golden foliage, and this one's called Phlomis aurea, and it's doing well also. So the two of them are kind of going to be evergreen anchors in this bed, and they will join some of the other anchoring plants like that conifer and this red yucca, the cistus, and the buplurum. So I'm getting better in terms of the structure in the parking strip that is going to be tough and resilient enough to stand up to the heat and the dry. And I've got a couple of Arctostaphylos shrubs in there that should become very dominant and prominent over the next year or so. So definitely a work in progress, but some of the changes that I've been making of late are definitely starting to pay off in terms of drought tolerance and just overall toughness. This bed here has a lot that's making me happy and plants that I'm really enjoying. This is Mahonia gracillipi, and I love its big, bold blue foliage, and its undersides are interesting too, bright white, and so that's kind of fun. And just kind of delicate little flowering. It's kind of on the end of its flowering, but looks fantastic with the golden foliage of the oak leaf hydrangea, little honey. And at its foot, it's got some other really great evergreen features. A tassel fern that's looking pretty darn happy. That's commingling with a camellia that's going to be blooming here soon. It's a fall blooming, fall and winter blooming camellia. And other things that are kind of still getting established in that other section. But this bed is generally one of my favorites, and it's flanked on the other side by some other good plants. This is Fuchsia japonica spider's web, and I have two of these in the garden, and I kind of put this one here just as a lark and thought, oh, because I had an extra one. But I really like it there, and it's doing great. So, okay, we took a full walk through the garden, and we didn't see everything, and I didn't share every thought or all of my fall plans, but I hope we took a few moments to celebrate some of what's bringing me joy right now, and also I flagged a few spots that I'm looking to improve. As ever, I'm going to bring you along on those changes as they take shape. If you enjoy real-life garden development, the evolution, the behind-the-scenes work, and the process that creates those beautiful moments, you're going to like this channel. I share the pretty scenes, but I also pull back that curtain on how they come together. If that sounds good, please like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.